Hey friend, today's video is going to be a little bit of a chatty video. I'm talking about something that is so near and dear to my heart, and this was my time as a hospice nurse. And the reason I say it's near and dear to my heart is because it changed me as a person. Hospice nursing completely changed my life, and I do not say that lightly. I am so thankful that I got the experience to be able to work with individuals at such a crucial time in their life. It was an incredible gift to me, and often I felt like I received so much more than I could ever have given to those friends and family members. And so today we're going to talk about the lessons, 7 lessons that I learned from death and dying, and also at the same time, my experience within hospice nursing. Because before I actually talk about the lessons that I learned, I think it's important to go back to the basics and talk about what is hospice nursing. I will timestamp so that way you can kind of skip around to the different sections. And for those of you who do not know me, I am Yessie. As I've mentioned, I'm a previous hospice nurse, but now I have turned a homeschool mom. And on this channel, we talk about minimalism and slow intentional living from an abundance lens, from a holistic lens. So we're not just talking about decluttering physical items and getting rid of physical stuff, although that is important and we do talk about that. We also talk about those things that we can't see, those mindset shifts, those habit changes to be able to live an abundant, fulfilling life. So if this sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss when I post a new video. Okay, so first and foremost, what is this job that completely changed my life? What is hospice nursing? One of the beauties about this is that there are so many different realms based on the individuals that are being treated. I did home hospice nursing, which I absolutely love because I would always tell my families, well, the patient is the boss here. Like, I have to do whatever makes the patient happy, whatever makes them feel better. Within home hospice nursing, I was basically helping individuals who were at end stages of life. They had been given a short prognosis to live, and some of them actually lived for years on afterwards because they ended up getting better and they ended up healing. And so we love those miraculous stories, but there's also individuals, which is most likely, most of them, end up passing within a short time frame. And so we are there to assist them with their symptoms, to be able to get the most out of their life and to be able to live their life to the fullest for however long that might be. And so for us, a lot of the things that we did was, of course, in helping with arranging their different medications, but also more than that, it was also encompassing that spiritual component, the friends and the family, and like gathering them and helping teaching them the resources. So it was just so beautiful that it wasn't just treating numbers like I felt like I was doing in the hospital. It was treating the person, the heart, the soul. And that was the aspect that I absolutely loved. And so the first lesson that I learned from hospice nursing is that our time is finite. Of course, like I think we all intuitively know this. We know that at some point we're going to die. But for me, as a 20-something-year-old, I definitely took that for granted. And I definitely could not relate to the pain of having lost somebody or having your body kind of slowly start to decline or seeing a loved one slowly start to decline or even rapidly. I definitely had a lot of patients that were just all of a sudden, like my pancreatic patients, it would be like all of a sudden they were healthy, they were happy, they were doing all sorts of things, and then suddenly they declined. And being exposed to that continuously and repeatedly, it was sad, it was difficult, but at the same time, it just showed me how much I need to value my life, how much I have to be grateful for, and to have the time that I have, because I don't have time in the same sense that I have money in my pocket. I don't have that. It's not up to me. I could die tomorrow and I don't know that. So just being aware of that for me changed my perspective on how I approach my life. And I'm saying this knowing fully that there are individuals who are so afraid, like deathly afraid of death. My husband was one of them. But the way that you phrase this, if you rephrase this, if you change the way that you approach this thought in your mind, it can help you live your life differently. Because instead of seeing, I'm going to die anyway, so what's the point of it all? If you say, I am going to die, so let me make the best of what I have now. Let me love as much as I can love. Let me go for the things that I want to try without fear, without feeling like, what if something goes wrong? Because I know that in the end, I'm not taking any of this with me. It would change the way that we live. I'm looking down at my notebook. Lesson number 2 is to live with purpose. I hear a lot, especially on, like the self-improvement realm, about finding your purpose and pursuing your passions and those sorts of things. And the difficulty that we can face when we're finding our passion is that we feel like we have to find something that is hidden and we don't know where to find it. But our passion is not something that we just obtain. It's something that molds with us through our experiences, through the things that we do. It's not something that we necessarily find. We are actively living it. We are actively changing, evolving. The more that we experience things that are outside of our comfort zone, the more that we start to change that perspective, our different interests change. I would like to encourage you not to find your passion, but instead to live with purpose. Because when you live with a purpose, when you feel like you have a reason to live, you have something to give, maybe, just maybe, you'll want to step outside your comfort zone and actually do things that make you uncomfortable. And those experiences will then lead you to do other things. This was definitely my experience because I've mentioned that I was diagnosed with social anxiety. For me, being able to step outside my comfort zone and force myself to experience those things that made me uncomfortable was actually what helped me to heal, which actually what helped me to overcome that. And then that led me into a love of social interactions. I'm still introverted, but look at me, I'm on a camera, and I never would have thought that I would do that. Oh, heck no. I would have said, no, never, never, me? Oh, heck no. But here I am, and it's because I didn't pursue my passion. Social media, talking to people, being on a stage, those things were not my passion. Definitely not. Not as somebody with diagnosed social anxiety. But those things molded as I stepped outside my comfort zone, as I faced new experiences. So live with purpose instead of pursuing passions. Lesson number 3 is that letting go can be an incredible act of love. I remember that as I was having an individual who had had a long battle with cancer, it had been a back and forth, lots of hospitalizations, lots of issues, and I basically tried my best to be able to have the family seated around him and have him in a comfortable position and just try to make him cleaned up and as comfortable as possible. And I remember one of the family members coming up to me and saying, "How could you do this for a living? This is so sad." And I looked at her just like if I was trying to pierce into her soul when I saw her. And I said, no, this is beautiful. He is surrounded by all of the people that love him. He had his ability to say his goodbyes, to hold hands with you all. This is beautiful. So letting go can be an act of love, and it can be an incredible selfless act. Lesson number 4 is on humility. And I specifically remember one situation when I worked in ICU, and I worked on a cardiac ICU unit, and I had this like 30-something-year-old male who had had an overdose of a particular drug. I'm not going to say which one, but he had heart failure. And the mom, very, very wealthy woman, came to us yelling at us, saying she was going to sue the hospital. She was cursing at us. It was just a horrible, horrible situation where we had to like get people to try to de-escalate the situation because she was so upset that we could not fix her son's heart. And she felt like we were at fault. Not the drugs. It was not him. It was not his decisions. It was we. And her money was going to fix it by suing us and by attacking us in whichever way she could, because she felt like she could fix anything with money, but this situation she couldn't. And that's the reality. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter how much you have physically. We will all face that same ending. And I specifically remember the saying, "Rich is not he who has the most, but he who needs the least." As a home hospice nurse, I visited run-down trailers, and I also visited mansions, the big, huge houses that had their own personal servers. And I saw everything. I saw people who had lots of love in their little, small, run-down trailer. I saw people who had lots of pride and lots of anger and resentment and horrible feelings in that run-down trailer. And I saw the opposite as well in the big mansions where people did not have love, where they felt like lonely. And then I also saw people who were surrounded by love, who were very humble, very kind, very giving. So you'll find a little bit of everything everywhere. Do not ever feel less than somebody else, and do not ever feel more than anybody else. And I definitely have to keep myself in check. One of the books that I have absolutely loved is Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. I'll leave it like down below in case you want to check that out. But this book, it basically mentions that sometimes we're not happy because we're feeling like we have something to obtain. And so in that sense, we might feel insecure, and our insecurities are our ego, which get in the way. And then when we have success and we're kind of up here, then we can kind of feel like, oh, well, I'm so smart and I'm so wise and I'm so whatever. So we feel like we're on this other end, but that's still our ego. So we have to keep our ego in check. We have to keep our ego in check when we are achieving success, or we feel like we're achieving success. And we also have to keep our ego in check when we feel less than, when we feel insecure, because that is still ego. And as somebody who struggled with people pleasing, I definitely can attest to that when you are struggling with insecurity, when you are struggling with people pleasing, it's ego. So I do recommend that book in case you want to check it out. It'll be linked down below, because it is something that I have to constantly remember. It's not something that you just check off the list. Yeah, I'm humble now. I'm all good. It's something we have to continuously keep check on. Lesson number 5 is to love every day. Specifically for me, what hurt me the most as a mother was to see parents lose their children. Because I think to some degree, in our subconscious, like, we expect their parents will die because they're older than us. And that's just how it likely happens, how it more often happens. But when a child dies, there's just a part of us that feels like it shouldn't be that way. Like, it's not supposed to happen that way. And those situations for me were always a reminder that I needed to go back home and like squish my children and love them and be present with them and actually look at them when they're talking to me, mommy, 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 and be there. And not even just with children, it might be whoever is around you. Are you actually present? Do you actually put the screen down to say hello? I remember one mother who had her young son. He was like 12, 13. And he had been having a difficult situation with a cancer. And she, at the end of his moments, laid down on his bed, caressing her little baby boy, because to her, he was still her baby boy. And she cuddled him as he took his last breath. And to me, those moments just remind me, I need to love. I need to give. The more love that we give, the more we perceive love. I don't know your current situation. I know that a lot of us, most of us, have had difficulties in our life. And if you feel like you don't have love, if you feel like you need friends that actually care for you, family that actually cares for you, give more love. The more love you give, the more you will get back, I assure you. Because when we're stepping outside of ourselves and we see someone else's pain, the more we love them, the more love that grows, the more that comes back to us. So be present. Something that I always do, my husband and I always do, whenever the other comes from work, is that we will actually put down the phone, the screen, whatever it is that we're working on for a moment to say hello. And I might be working on a video, but that's okay. I'll come back to it. I want to greet whoever came in the door, to say hello, to say, hey, I see you. I am here for you. I value you. It's great that we have projects and things that we value that we want to do. That's wonderful. But let's stop for a moment and actually see the individual. Not just look at them, but see them. Number 6, I just recognize, is something that I have a lot to work on, and it is the bucket list. I remember one situation with a 2-year-old who had a long battle with brain cancer and lots of cancer treatments that are like trial to see if something can work. And she had had tube feeding, so she basically wasn't able to actually eat. Her family had to be there like all day long because it was constant care. But in this situation, we were involved while she was also undergoing lots of other treatments. And her family knew, though, that she was at end stages of life and that there was nothing really they could do. They were trying, they were giving her all these trials, but there really wasn't any treatment. And what they wanted is to take her to the beach and to at least have her have that experience of putting her little toes in the sand, experiencing the ocean breeze, and knowing that they took her, that they did it. And so it took a lot of work to try to manage her medicines and arrange safety plan to be able to have that happen, but they did it. And for them, it meant the world. What is on your bucket list? I'm not saying go into debt to go experience these things on your bucket list. We also have to be smart. We have to save for a rainy day. That's wise. But at the same time, do those things that maybe make you uncomfortable. I remember when I was a teenager, I was not a good singer at all, but I loved singing. Like, I wanted to be an opera singer when I grew up, and that was never going to happen. But I went for a talent show. Not so that I would win. I didn't expect that I was going to win. And I didn't care if people were going to clap and say like, yay, Essie is this awesome singer. I did it because I wanted to, because it was on my bucket list, because I felt that desire. And I'm so glad that I did. And you know what? People booed me. They actually were on the stand. Boo! But I felt so happy. I didn't care because I did it. I did that thing that was on my bucket list. And having the firsthand experience of people who are passing, I can assure you that a lot of them have regrets of things that they didn't do, but they don't have the regret that they tried. So I don't want to be the person that regrets that I didn't try something that I wanted to do. And you shouldn't either. And lastly, number 7 relates to that is the fear of failure. Avoid this fear of failing. What is failing? What is it? Does a kid fall and say like, I fell. I'm never going to try to walk. I'm never going to learn to walk because I fell. I failed. No, they get back up. They try it again, and then they fall again, and then they get back up and they fall again, and they try again. It's a lesson, and it makes them stronger. And something that I've learned with my second child is that now when he falls and he does something, I'm like, that was kind of funny. And when I do that, he's just like, yeah, I guess it was. It was kind of courageous, wasn't I? Wasn't I? I didn't even cry, mommy. But the fear of failure is something that can limit us. When we fear failing, we're really not ever trying for the things that we want to try. And it's keeping us from being happy. So if we could just approach it from a completely different regard and know that you will fail. That's okay. It's normal. Everybody has mistakes, and we will all fail at some point or another. But it's really just a lesson. Like, instead of your mind saying failure, say lesson. When something goes wrong, what is the lesson? What did I learn from that? And this lesson will help me to make a better decision the next time around. And as a bonus for sticking to the end, be present. If you're bored and you feel like you have nothing to do, enjoy some fresh air. Because some people have pain with every single breath that they take. Enjoy the way the breeze makes the leaves move on a tree, because some people can't see it. I remember the day when I was standing outside at night with my brother, and I looked up at the sky and I said, oh my gosh, look how beautiful the stars are. And he turns to look at me and he says, Yessie, I can't see the stars. And I recognized I take my vision for granted. I don't recognize that somebody else cannot see the stars, that somebody else cannot just take a breath in whenever they want to, that some people feel like they're suffocating because they literally are. They have fluid in their lungs, and every single breath is miserable. It's tiring. Eating is miserable because it takes work. It's so much energy expenditure just to breathe, let alone to eat, to walk, to go to the bathroom. Do not take your life for granted. Be present. Be thankful for the things that you have. No matter how difficult your life might be, you have something to be grateful for. And it might be as simple as, I can see this screen. I can hear the words that people are saying. And so let us be grateful. Let us be present and remember that our time is limited and that we have something to give. Again, the more love that you give, the more love that you will get back, and the happier you will be, I assure you. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love my video, How I Overcame Social Anxiety, because a lot of the lessons that I learned within hospice also kind of encompass things that just kind of helped me evolve as a person overall and helped me to overcome diagnosed social anxiety. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you won't miss when I post a new video. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!